Good morning, everybody. I want to say hello to all of our online participants. I don't know how many we have. I guess we'll have that number in a minute. While we're waiting for everybody to get seated, first of all, I want to let you know how much we learn from you. You teach us.
We lost Steve's audio. Steve's audio. We've lost Steve's audio.
Koinonia, for community, we give you thanks. And Lord, we pray Pat had on our community and for the amazing gift that they were to us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Now, today is Spirit Day.
Nothing's happening. I'm unmuted.
Trinity Woods marketing team is in community engagement. As wide receivers, Christy Hinesley and Alec Davis. Yay, yay, yay. Trainer, who's the trainer? Jennifer Rawlings. Jennifer Rawlings is the trainer. Running back, Irene Brown. She always delivers a touchdown, doesn't she? She always delivers a touchdown. Kicker, Jim Ginther. Jim Ginther's our kicker. Just goes to show you, once a kicker, always a kicker. On our offensive line is Richard Applegate. Our defense, middle linebacker from Shawnee, Oklahoma, Dennis Graham. On the defensive line, Jesse Stark. And of course, our safety is Carrie Matheson. Now, I say this kind of in jest, but I do want to seriously respond to Bruce's question. We are laser focused on breaking down the barriers, creating a uniform team, and facilitating and expediting the process of sales and marketing at Trinity Woods. You're going to see some really exciting things happening. I think that you may have already witnessed this. We have a plan in place that is something that is essentially new to us. So up to the beginning of the pandemic, we basically relied on people to come in and to tell us what it is that they wanted. And that was essentially our approach to sales and marketing. Post-pandemic, we have developed a much more disciplined and proactive outreach with regard to sales and marketing. We have three very clear goals. We want to drive sales. And what that means is we're looking for 20 wins between now and the end of the year. We're working to fill the pipeline that we have with qualified leads. And we are working to evolve the new brand, the new name for Trinity Woods. You may have seen, have any of you noticed in your online activity an increase in Trinity Woods activity? Anybody seen that as you've done your searching? That's really great to see. Now, I'm going to ask for your help in just a second, okay? So Heidi, if you could, if there's two things I'd like to pass out. First of all, I do have a presentation that I'm going to do in just a second. I would like for the handouts to be distributed, but I also want every one of you to answer two questions for us. And I'm going to give you a sheet of paper. We're going to give you a pen. I want you to be involved in this sales and marketing process. And I want you to answer two questions. Do you know what we have discovered? We have discovered, we have generated 236 new agent income qualified leads in the last couple of months. So that activity that you've seen has developed 236 qualified leads. Bonnie has what she affectionately refers to as her top 40. She's got a top 40. But you can help us answer two questions that will enable us to more effectively engage with these 236 leads and the top 40. Here are the questions. So I want you to answer one question on the front side, and then I want you to flip the paper over, and I want you to ask the second question on the back side. You with me? Two questions. First of all, I want you to answer this question. There is a resistance to making this move. There's a resistance to making the decision that you've already made. So you can help us to understand what your resistance was to making a decision to move to Trinity Woods. So question number one was, what held you back? So we want you to answer this question. What held me back was, and then just put whatever it was that was your greatest area of resistance to moving to Trinity Woods. What held me back was, and then fill in the blank for you. Anybody have any questions? Then write, nothing held me back. Just put nothing held me back, okay? You don't have to sign your name. These are anonymous responses. Side one, What held me back was I didn't want to leave my house. What held me back was I felt like it was too early. I felt like it was too early. What held me back was, and then put your answer there. Okay, here's thing number 2. You ready? By the way, we're not going to grade these. There's no grade. Okay, what held me back was, now on the flip side, I want you to answer this question. What finally convinced me was, and then put that down. Now, if you're in the unique situation where your spouse was what held you back, okay? If your spouse held you back, you could actually say, what finally convinced my spouse was, okay? So 2 questions. Alec, will the answers to these questions be of help? Yes. What held me back was, and then what finally convinced me was. Now, the really cool thing about this is we'll share the answers with you when we compile them, okay? Now, Bruce took the lead and sent the question, what's happening with vacancies? I've tried to give a complete answer to the sales and marketing initiatives that we're taking. You're going to see a lot more activity around the campus. We're going to have much more focused events. We had a great event not long ago where we had a real estate agent come and talk with people about the issues, and we learned some really, really interesting things. The average amount of time that it takes to sell a house in our primary market area, the 5 zip codes that surround us, is still really short. The housing market is doing very well. The interest rate increases really only affect first-time buyers. So far, that's the reality. And so the message that we really wanted to communicate to people in that situation was, now is the best time to plan for this move. So very focused, very targeted on sales and marketing. Anybody have any questions about my pop quiz here? Thank you so much for your feedback. We really look forward to sharing the results with you. And Bruce, I hope I answered your question. Everybody, when you get the announcement for the meetings that we do, the town hall meetings that we do, we invite you to send emails. You can email me with a question. You can send a question to anybody. We really appreciate the questions in advance because they help us give a more thorough and complete answer. Now, today is a very, very special day. Today is Earl Smith's 100th birthday. Now, it only seems appropriate that we sing for Earl, okay? Now, I'm not really a very good song leader, but happy birthday. You don't want us to sing? Okay. Well, let us take the opportunity. Let us take the opportunity to wish you a very happy birthday, and you'll be saved from our feeble efforts to sing. So thank you very much. Yes. Okay, now we have a name the mascot.
Okay. Some of them are easy, some of them are not. Oh, thanks, Jim. Okay. Your first one. Whose mascot is this? Look at you guys. I should totally disclose, I have tried this on several of our Trinity Woods football team, and they are not as good as you. Oh, whoops, wrong way. Wah, wah. Just kidding. Nice. Oh, sorry. This is Kansas State. And we do have some K-State alums in the building. Anybody want to raise their hand? Jim, the famous kicker from K-State. And Jacob Will. I don't know where. Jim, you should have done that. Division I athlete. Next one. Well done. Nice. Stanford University right here, the trees. Right. You guys really are good. Michigan State, the Spartans. This one, if anyone gets it, I'm kind of giving you a prize. But what is their mascot called? Hey, Owens. Yes. There are perks to being the person who does the slideshow. St. Bonaventure, home of the Bonnies. So they made the slideshow. Okay, I'm going to work on a prize for you. Because my husband said, nobody will get that. Waiting for Brittany to shout that out. Nebraska Cornhuskers. Boomer. Thank you. Yep. And of course, I think that's our last one. So see, we ended with the best. Sorry, I'm sure I'll pay for that later with, sorry, I only had so many, and TU's was hard to find the hurricane I mean, some of them I even tried. I knew we had a Mississippi, but yours looks like I assure you, I tried to find but some of them are harder to find than others. So thank you for your grace on that.
Very good. Thank you so much. This is me. Wow. Each month we have the amazing privilege of recognizing significant accomplishments at our town hall. We really encourage everybody to submit nominations for Star of the Month. I think that there's a nomination form on your chair. And this month, we have the distinct privilege of recognizing Dorothy Mayhew, who's a CMA in the Holloman Center, as the September Star of the Month. This is what Brittany Chappell said about Dorothy. Brittany's the director of assisted living. Dorothy is genuine and intentional in all that she does to serve members, families, and her coworkers. There's a peace of mind for all when Dorothy is working, which is invaluable. She's a great example to those around her in serving others in the spirit of Christ. So please join me in celebrating Dorothy Mayhew as the September Star of the Month. Three people are being recognized this month for service awards. Brittany Jocelyn is a CMA in Chapman Heights. She's being recognized for 5 years of service. Mira Rulford is a CNA in Holloman. She's being recognized for 10 years of service. Jacob will see to it that both of them get the pins that express our appreciation to them. And Bill Peterson is here. I'm going to ask Bill to come up. Bill is being recognized for 5 years of service. Bill has been here for 5 years. He leads the HR team that includes Crystal Creekmore and Tracy Henry. Tracy's in the back. Wave at everybody. This group makes sure that the people side of Trinity Woods is cared for in every respect. performance evaluations, paychecks, job descriptions, benefits, pensions, all of those details are managed by these three people. And because so much of what we do is reliant on people, I can't overemphasize the importance of the role that these folks have at Trinity Woods. What's really interesting about this is that it's almost a fluke that Bill ended up working here. It's almost a fluke. I sometimes ask him, why do we spend all this money on advertising and, getting the word out about openings when it's practically a fluke that you ended up working here? So we're glad that fate was on our side, and congratulations for 5 years of service. Thank you very much. Okay. Does everybody have a copy of the handout? Okay. We've got some people that don't have handouts. Everybody should have a copy of this. Oh, okay. Sorry. Nobody has a copy of the handout. So while the handout is being distributed, I want to make a couple of comments, okay? What we're about to talk about is one of the most basic issues in the relationship that you have with Trinity Woods. This is the most basic issue in the relationship that we have with each other. Beg your pardon? Yes, if it would be okay to ask that couples share, that would be helpful. I'm actually going to walk through the presentation, so you're going to see it on the screen, but we wanted you to have a takeaway that includes everything that I'm talking about. And if you're participating online and you want a copy of this, we would gladly email you a copy of the presentation. So back to this basic promise. Trinity Woods, when your application to move to Trinity Woods is approved, we're making a promise to you. And the promise to you is that we have evaluated the situation in a way that convinces us that we can commit to you, we're going to take care of you for the rest of your life. For 65 years, that's been the brand promise, if you will, of Trinity Woods. If you provide accurate financial information, and if through no fault of your own, you run out of money, our promise is that we're going to take care of you for the rest of your life. You have to fill out, you have to provide accurate financial information on admission, and you can't weaken your financial position by giving away assets or by being frivolous in the management of your finances. But if you meet those two criteria, our promise is to take care of you for the rest of your life. How we do that is what we are about to talk about, okay? How does Trinity Woods attend to the self-care needs of its members? That's the discussion that we're going to enter into. So, first of all, we start with our mission. Our mission is serving the Trinity Woods family in the spirit of Christ. As part of that mission, we're committed to helping people age in place in compliance with fair housing laws and providing an environment in which members can live their most fulfilling lives. So what does that actually look like? Recently at a member council meeting, we had an extensive discussion about this. So we've been doing this presentation for a number of years. And when we started doing it, I met with a group of community members and I asked them, how do you want to be treated when the time comes for us to have a discussion about changes in your healthcare needs? And we developed a list of responses, and I have updated those responses to now include the most recent responses from the members of the member council. So when we asked the member council members, how do you want to be treated? These were the answers that we got. People said, I want to have input into the process. I want help getting there. And it was almost as if the person was saying, I want help getting there to the place where I understand what my choices are, where I come to accept the changes, but that I'm involved in the process. One person said, I need to know what Trinity Woods does and what it does not do. So in the independent living community, in the residential living community, there's a limit to the services that Trinity Woods provides as a part of your contract. This person was saying, I need to know what those limits are. Someone said, I want respect and consideration of my situation. As I decline, I want help coping, and I want help available as I need it. Someone else said, I don't want any surprises. I want to be involved in the dialogue, and I want my family to be involved. Another response was, I want to be valued, and I want to be known as a person. And I want my feelings about these changes to be acknowledged. Someone else said, I want to be involved, and I want to know my choices. And then finally, I want to live in my residence as long as possible. Does anybody have anything that you would like to add to this list? Is there anything that's not on this list that's important to you? If you think of something, email it to me. Let me know. I would love to know if you think of something that's not on this list that's important to you that we should be considering. Someone else said, I understand that this will be a new phase of change and that I might need help to stay in my home because I'm the primary caregiver for my spouse. Another person said, I want early intervention. There may be denial, they acknowledged. That is a not wanting to recognize the need for help. So the encouragement was to start early in discussing options. So you can consider this part of the early start, okay? We may not be acting in our own best interest is something that someone acknowledged. We need a loving, nurturing influence that leads toward that goal. Someone else said, I want compassion, sensitivity, and self-direction. And then there was this acknowledgement. We came here to prepare for this. And then this question, will we be able to stay together as a couple? So again, if you think of something that's not on this list that's important to you, I invite you to let me know. Let's go on. I want to acknowledge that this is a difficult conversation, and it's a difficult conversation for several reasons. First, we've made a promise to attend to the needs of people, as I mentioned earlier. Second, it involves discussing very personal and sometimes awkward subjects. in spite of that, we want to improve communication and we want to build trust. We also want to make the process less threatening. And then finally, we want to inform community members about their choices. I have to acknowledge, in the 18 years that I've been here, this is one of the most difficult conversations that we enter into with community members. And it's difficult for several reasons. First, there's the risk of being misunderstood by the community member. People ask, why is Trinity Woods doing this? Second, there's the risk of being misjudged. Misjudged because people don't want Trinity Woods to interfere. Misjudged because there's a perception that Trinity Woods is motivated by money. There's the risk of alienating the community member in such a way that they may no longer feel that they can trust Trinity Woods staff. And then finally, there's a risk of conflict. Frankly, a basic disagreement about the conclusions that we arrive at. So what I want to do is to frame that discussion in a way that informs you about how we approach this process. In spite of these risks, there comes a time when Trinity Woods is obligated to open this conversation. So prior to moving here, all members of the residential living community, that includes Crestwood, the villas, patio homes, lakeside homes, and Felt House, submit a form that is entitled Requirements of Residency, and it's a questionnaire. The requirements of residency are defined as paying bills, living peaceably in the community, and keeping the premises clean and safe. And these requirements apply to all community members. Community members who pose a danger to themselves or others don't meet those requirements of residency. They don't meet the requirements of residency. And so the purpose of that document is to assure that the members of the residential living community are able to meet the requirements of residency with or without assistance, and that they can live peaceably on the campus, keeping the premises safe and clean. So, what are these activities of daily living? A key part of continuing to meet the requirements of residency is ensuring that activities of daily living, frequently referred to as ADLs, are met either alone or with the assistance of others. So the key to being able to continue to live independently is that all ADLs are met continuously. And they can be met continuously by the member, or they can be met with the help of another person. The help can come from a spouse, it can come from a family member, it can even come from a paid home health care worker. I'll get into that a little bit more later. But members who regularly demonstrate unmet care needs and routinely do not meet the requirements of residency can reasonably be required by Trinity Woods to furnish a third-party caregiver through a licensed home health care agency at their own expense, or to consider a mandatory move to assisted living or to a healthcare household. So the contractual agreement that we have is that all of you are entitled to priority access to a higher level of care when that need becomes apparent. So you have priority access over anybody outside the community to a higher level of care, wherever that might be, when you need it. There are 10 categories of activities of daily living: personal hygiene and grooming, dressing and undressing, obtaining and accessing food, transferring, using the bathroom, walking, taking medications as prescribed, shopping for groceries, selecting and supervising caregivers, and knowing safety and emergency procedures. Now, here's the thing. All 10 of these have to be met continuously in order for the person to be able to live, to continue to live independently. I want to take a minute to talk about ADLs and memory loss. We are really proud to be a dementia-friendly community. We're committed to supporting people living with various stages of memory loss and cognitive decline. And because of the unique concerns associated with memory loss, we pay special attention to a couple of issues. Number one is personal safety. So that means assuring the safe operation of appliances and that safety procedures are followed in the event of severe weather or an emergency in the residence. And then the second thing is the safety and peace of other members in the community. This means preventing situations where a community member becomes over-reliant on others to the detriment of their neighbors. So, how do we go about doing this? There is an interdisciplinary team that we refer to as the transition team, and I want to talk about their role now. After move-in, the responsibility for monitoring the self-care needs of members rests with the transition team. The purpose of this team is to provide guidance to community members and their families when the member is facing acute or chronic healthcare issues. Trinity Woods is responsible for advocating when a change may be needed in order to assure that the requirements of residency continue to be met. And we meet this obligation through the work of the transition team. The goal of the team is to work collaboratively with the members of the Trinity Woods community and their advisors to ensure that the members' needs are being met. So, who is this team? It includes the CEO, myself, the Chief Operating Officer, Dennis Graham, the Vice President of Health Services, Jacob Will, the Director of Member Services, Carrie Matheson, the Director of Assisted Living, Brittany Chappell, the Vice President of Wellness, Jennifer Rawlings, the Wellness Nurse, Lupina Fry, the Chaplain, Weldon Tisdale, and the Healthcare Households Social Services Coordinator, who's Taylor Toyne. And then we add other staff members as is appropriate. So that's the makeup of the transition team. What does this team actually do? So when the transition team becomes aware of a concern, the member is added to the transition team agenda. All staff members, everyone on the campus who works here, including dining, housekeeping, maintenance, and security, are encouraged to convey concerns about the health and well-being of members to the wellness nurse or to the Director of Member Services. The transition agenda is monitored by the transition team as part of a weekly meeting that we have. In the case of an acute healthcare issue, that is an illness or a surgery, some type of post-acute hospitalization, rehab, the transition team guidance is provided until the member has recovered, they return home, and they're taken off the agenda. In the case of chronic issues, the transition team evaluates the member's needs and makes recommendations if and when unmet needs become apparent. Input into the process is sought from the community member's family, the primary care physician, other doctors, and the Trinity Woods staff. A recommendation will be made to the member and the family by the transition team, identifying the services and support necessary for the member to continue to meet the requirements of residency in residential living. This may involve therapy, it may involve home health, it can involve any number of possibilities, but we are definitely committed to helping people stay in their home as long as they can, as long as these self-care needs are met continuously. So what are the principles that guide the work of the transition team? We talked about the mission, vision, and values of Trinity Woods. We're guided by the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. We're guided by this question: how would you want to be treated if you were in the same situation? And we realize that everybody wants to live as independently as possible, as economically as possible, as long as possible. We're committed to supporting these goals for all members of the community. The transition team's primary concern is when there are unmet self-care needs that impact the safety of the individual or the community. Now, I want to take a couple of minutes to talk about the role of the wellness nurse. We identify 6 roles for the wellness nurse: education, office consultation, emergency response, recommendations, the coordination of care, and documentation. And this is the role of Lupina Fry. She does a wonderful job. So in terms of education, she's a resource for medical information. If you have a question, and she teaches classes. She does do office consultations, so blood pressure checks, questions about medications, and so forth. She coordinates and documents responses to the SARA pendant, the emergency response pendant, and she follows up on those. She also makes recommendations for third-party medical professionals. She also coordinates all third-party caregivers and serves as a liaison with the transition team for documentation and so forth. She receives and validates the requirements of residency questionnaires as part of the move-in documentation for the members of the Trinity Woods residential living community. Now we're going to talk about what the wellness nurse does not do. The wellness nurse does not assist with medication administration or setup. The wellness nurse does not provide ongoing treatment such as wound care. The wellness nurse does not do non-urgent in-home consultations, and she does not provide in-home support with self-care issues. Now, when you have a question or a concern, we definitely want you to reach out and get the help that's offered by Lupina. But there is a limit to what the wellness nurse does, and what we've tried to do is to define that limit through this explanation. So when do unmet care needs prompt concern for the transition team? We get concerned when we see needs that are beyond the scope and practice of the wellness nurse. We get concerned when the calls from the member to the wellness nurse take an inordinate amount of time, or when they become frequently urgent. We become concerned when the severity of medical issues increases or the frequency of those issues increases. We become concerned when there's a lack of involvement from caregivers or family. We also become concerned when the frequency and level of the involvement of neighbors changes. And then finally, personal safety, of course, especially as it relates to the operation of appliances and the ability to follow safety procedures. So I'm going to wrap up with a list of frequently asked questions. And so if you have a question, you'll have an opportunity to ask it when I'm done here. So first of all, how long can I continue to stay in my home? We get this question all the time. You can stay in your home as long as all self-care needs are being met continuously, even with assistance. You can stay in your home. Another question, how does the process unfold when a member's care need changed? Members who regularly demonstrate unmet care needs and routinely don't meet the requirements of residency can be required to furnish a third-party caregiver. We'll work with you to give you choices of who those caregivers are. They actually have to be licensed. And so It can't be a friend or an acquaintance who you pay to do that. They have to be licensed, but when those unmet care needs begin to unfold, that can be a requirement. So who can provide this care? It's perfectly acceptable for a spouse or a family member to assist as long as two conditions are met. The first condition is the self-care needs of the member must be met continuously, and the caregiver, the family member, must be a volunteer. The state of Oklahoma requires that anyone who is paid as a caregiver must be employed by a licensed home health care agency. It's also an important protection for us. The home health care agency does a criminal background check. They also are required to have workers' compensation insurance, and those are important protections for the organization. So what are the members' choices? If a member is unable to meet the requirements of residency and determines that in-home care is neither practical nor cost-effective, the member has the option to moving to the appropriate level of care when accommodations are available. But home health services must be provided to ensure all self-care needs are met until other accommodations are available. So people frequently ask, well, what if the accommodations that I want aren't available at that time? What we do is we work to create a bridge that frequently involves home health care until that vacancy becomes available. What are the requirements for third-party caregivers at Trinity Woods? All private duty caregivers delivering services on our campus must meet several requirements. First, they have to provide a copy of the contract for services and report any changes or updates to the agreement. Second, they report to the wellness nurse any change in the member's condition that creates a risk either to the member's health and safety or to the health and safety of others. Next, they must provide a current certificate of insurance for workers' comp and professional liability. They also have to adhere to the same rules of conduct that govern Trinity Woods employees. They also provide copies of criminal background checks and the appropriate license or certificate. For your information, we do this update periodically. The current average hourly weekday cost for a sitter or a companion is between $22 and $26. For a certified nurse assistant, it's $25 to $30. And for an LPN, it's $45 to $60. Who makes the final determination as to whether or not the requirements of residency are being met? It's the transition team that has final decision-making authority. So here are some other important factors. We are very proud of the way that neighbors help neighbors at Trinity Woods. But we also recognize that there comes a point where offering support to each other creates an undue burden on one party. So part of the role of the transition team is to step in when this occurs and to advocate for the health and safety of both members. We also recognize that there are times when the behavior of well-intended neighbors crosses a boundary and becomes meddling. I think it's beneficial for us to note that several community members have expressed, or family members have expressed concern about this tendency toward over-functioning that sometimes occurs. All community members are encouraged to reach out to members of the transition team for guidance and direction when you see a concern about any of these issues. So, as you think about these things, please be mindful. We would encourage everybody to check your power of attorney frequently and update the durable power of attorney for healthcare. We would encourage you to think about these things and about what support you might be able to expect from family. some of the things that we think about are where does the person actually live? Crestwood, Feldhouse, et cetera. Those influence to some degree how a person can manage their own self-care needs. Obviously, what does the person want? What are the financial and human resources needs available? Is the family involved? Is there long-term care insurance? Or, are they relying on personal assets? Is there VA benefits available? Is the issue likely to improve or decline, or is progressive decline likely? That's a factor that is frequently in play. And then, of course, could Trinity Woods seen as being negligent if unmet self-care needs are ignored? And then finally, how long is an intervention likely to be successful? So these are the things that we think about. Let me take the opportunity to open the floor for questions. Jane.
It says when the transition team becomes aware of a concern, the member is added to the transition agenda. Do the members know that they have been added to the transition agenda? Do all of the members on the agenda know they are on the agenda and are being discussed?
Generally speaking, the answer to that question is yes. There might be a situation where a concern is brought up before we have an opportunity to talk to the person, but Lupina is in contact with almost every single person who's on the transition team agenda on a routine basis. These discussions don't happen behind people's back. When it gets to the point where a concern is validated, we're engaging in a discussion with that person. Try it again.
Test. Yeah, listening to this, it made me think that this is the information I'd like to give to our kids that down the road might be, needing to understand this process a lot better. My question is, can we get a hold of, say, a digital copy of this that I can email to the family?
Absolutely. If you'll approach me or Heidi Garrett, we will see to it that you get a PDF copy of this. Thank you very much.
Steve, Carrie said, I know many of you didn't get a copy. Carrie said that she would make sure copies of what was handed out would be at the Holloman, at Kim's desk, the Holloman reception, and the concierge. If you'll just give us till after lunch, we'll make sure copies of the slides are at both of those desks if you would like to pick them up.
Thank you very much.
Medicare doesn't necessarily always cover everything. Do you know if the services provided by the healthcare nurse, is it tax deductible?
Well, I'm very, very grateful for your question. And
Not sure.
people tell me that sometimes I give great answers, but I don't actually answer the question that they asked. Okay. So before I try to, can you repeat the question?
Medicare does not always provide to help you with payment for a licensed caregiver. Is it, if the money that you spend out of pocket, is that tax deductible?
I believe that when you itemize your medical expenses, that the cost for home health, the invoices that you get from a licensed home health care agency would qualify as a valid medical expense. Okay, now I'm going to answer the question that you didn't ask, okay? It's going to go back to the presentation that Jacob made, okay? It's very, very important that if you are hospitalized, that you be admitted by the hospital, not under observation, and that you spend 3 nights there, and that when you're discharged, that you get a skillable diagnosis. It will take self-advocacy by you and your family to make sure that that happens. Okay, so that's the question that you didn't ask.
Can you repeat what you just said, please?
Okay. It's very important that if you have a hospitalization, that you make sure that you are admitted to the hospital as an inpatient, not just for observation. Okay. After 3 nights, it's very important that when you're discharged from the hospital, that you advocate for yourself for a diagnosis that qualifies you for rehabilitative therapy. And the hint is, the flip side of that is, people recently have been admitted to the hospital for observation. And even though you stay 3 nights, because of the admission status, they're denied Medicare therapy, inpatient Medicare therapy, or they're admitted for 3 nights. And when they're discharged, the diagnosis isn't specific in authorizing rehabilitative therapy. So in both of those cases, if you're admitted under, if you're not admitted as an inpatient, if you're only there for observation, any inpatient therapy that you have is private pay. Everybody get that? If you are admitted as an inpatient and you're discharged without a skillable diagnosis and you want to come to the healthcare center for rehab, you are going to pay for that privately unless you have a skillable diagnosis. And these determinations are made by Medicare. They don't have anything to do with us. We have to play by the Medicare rules. And so it's a simple process of self-advocacy to make sure that when you're admitted, that it's not for observation, you're admitted as an inpatient, and when you're discharged, you have a skillable diagnosis that entitles you to Medicare therapy.
Actually, Jacob has hands out for, this was covered last month and we did not have handouts, but today Jacob has this in a handout that he will give to you brief in just a minute.
How did I do, Jacob? Thank you so much. Yes, very, very good. Very good. No, it's very important.
Well, at the hospital, when you are discharged to a facility, doesn't the hospital discharge team verify that you're going to qualify?
Sometimes that doesn't happen. Sometimes that does not happen.
Okay.
That's what I'm talking about, the self-advocacy. How many of you make a list when you go to the doctor? I mean, how many of you have been in the doctor's office, seen the doctor, get in your car, and you think what? I forgot to ask about that, okay? This is like that. This is making the list and being ready to advocate for yourself to get the care that you need. Yeah. There are some hospitalizations where it's pretty much a slam dunk to get a skillable diagnosis. But anyway, thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation. I'm going to turn the mic over to Din. Okay, Irene is up.
I will be very efficient. This has been a rich meeting, but I have 3 important reminders and a very important appreciation. Tomorrow is Family Day. Many of you are ready with your tickets and coming. We welcome everyone, even if you don't have a ticket, but if you want the free ice cream from the truck, you have to have a ticket. There are a few tickets left, and the wonderful Angie Bennett, the great mind behind all your reservations, is in the back with them. So if you don't have a ticket and you want to come and get ice cream, you can get a ticket from her at the end of the meeting. You can come. If you don't have a ticket, just no ice cream. This afternoon at 1 in Fleming Center, Mr. Murph will be here. This man does not make speaking engagements often. He is the head of recycling for Mr. Murph. He's the one who brought that wonderful recycling facility to Tulsa, and he's coming to talk to us at 1 o'clock in Fleming Center today. And lastly, both of our trips this month are meant to educate and inform you, but they're also meant to make your children and grandchildren jealous. We are going to Tulsa's 3 newest national attractions. Two of them at the end of the month, but one of them is on Tuesday, and that is the BMX biking facility. It is an Olympic level facility that just opened in Tulsa. We have a few more spaces on the bus. Let Angie know if you'd like to join that trip. It's going to be a lot of fun. Now, for the very important recognition, we had a super summer school this summer. We had several classes, some of them multi-session, and we had great participation with the number of students that attended. All of that was made possible by your fellow community members who are experts or became experts in order to share knowledge and wisdom and enrichment with you. And I want to recognize those community members who taught summer school classes this summer. When I call your name, would you please come forward to get your certificate, and please stay up here so we can get a quick photo afterward. Vicki Langston taught podcasting. What's that? Vicki, come on up. Thank you. I'm just handing down. Next, we have Doris Piatak. There's Doris. She taught The Long and Short of It, a poetry workshop. Sarah Jenkins gave us a glimpse into Japanese culture. Phyllis Rhodes, Family Treasures, Genealogy 101. It's amazing variety this summer. Thank you. Sherilyn Sunflower, the Just for Fun jewelry making class. Don Hertzler, Tulsa's recycling and incineration program. That's a great lead into this afternoon's program. And I do want to acknowledge 3 people who couldn't be here today. Donna Shirley kicked us off with the 25th anniversary of her Mars involvement. Robert Benz did a reading from his published poetry, and Mike Reynolds presented his wonderful Red Folder program. Let's thank all of these wonderful teachers. And thank you to the students.
Jacob is up next.
Okay, I'll be brief. So there is a handout. It does summarize what I had talked about last month. Hopefully adds clarification if you do have questions. I don't want to go over it again, but I do believe Steve summarized some things very well a few minutes ago. If you have questions, though, on this document, please reach out to myself or Lapina. We'd be happy to help with that. The only other announcement that I really wanted to make was, if you're aware, in the news, there is now a new COVID-19 booster. It's a bivariant strain this time. That means that our old booster shots, the ones that we had been getting, those are all discontinued. You cannot get that anymore. There is only one type of booster, and they're not quite into the state of Oklahoma yet. They're being shipped all over the nation, but Lupina and I are working with our pharmacy providers. We will hold a clinic here on site, and we'll get that information out to everybody. You are eligible to get that if it has been at least 2 months since your last dose, whether that be the finish of the original series or another booster. So. Yes, and we'll be sending that information out, so. Okay, thank you guys.
Okay, now we've gone a little bit over. We do have a couple of other announcements. Do you have a minute or two to receive those announcements? Okay, Dennis? Dennis has an update on Owen Park campus lighting and Crestwood carpet.
Thank you. Owen Park, we've been working on the water feature. The water feature is complete. We had it full of water. It was flowing, looking great. Then we had a leak. So we found the leak. They fixed that yesterday. As with any waterproofing, it takes a little bit of time for it to dry. They were going to fill it back up today. And we believe we found all of the leak points. And so it should be flowing. Should be flowing over the weekend. The lighting for that area and for Sandusky, I just got word this morning that we are in fabrication, which means they are making our light fixtures. Does that mean they'll be done over the weekend? No. But we will have them within, again, within the time frame. We're probably still, like I said, six to 8 weeks out, but at least we know now we're in line and they're forthcoming. So we hope to have them sometime, hopefully by the middle of October, maybe. Once we get them, it won't take very long to install them. We've pretty much got most of the infrastructure in place. The carpet in Crestwood, we finally got our carpet in for the 3rd floor. Those of you who are on the 3rd floor noticed that they've been installing a little bit of it. We should be hopefully complete within a week or so. And then we ordered, for some reason, the carpet on the 1st floor versus the 2nd floor. The 1st floor, most all the carpet was available. So we went ahead and ordered that. So immediately when 3rd floor is finished, they'll start on 1st floor. And 2nd floor is on order. So once that comes in, we'll move back to the 2nd floor. So 1st floor is next. That means dining, all of, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I haven't been over there yet. The theater room, I believe they've got carpet in that area. Got that completed. So that looks nice. The reports I'm getting. So I hope to get over there today and take a look. So, the last thing I have campus lighting that Steve talked about is basically the path lighting in Owen Park and also for Sandusky, the new street lights for Sandusky. The West Gate, the parts came in for the West Gate. So hopefully in the next week or so, we'll be able to start distributing. Ty was going to get with Carrie. They're going to fill out or create a form for you to fill out with your name, car tag, those type of things. So if you want a sticker for the West Gate, so when you drive up there, the gate will open. They'll be working with members next week, I believe, to try to get those stickers passed out to the ones who want them. I believe the cost is around $50. So if you want a sticker for your car to open the West Gate, that'll be available. They're finishing up the programming today. We have been testing it. And right now we have a couple of hundred car stickers available. So if we need more, we can get more, but we have up to 200 right now. So those of you who think you're going to lose your car, I guess, get more than one. Those of you who have more than one car, we have plenty. So we're good to go there. Aside from that, we'll be starting the typical fall stuff in the grounds, color and do a little bit of overseeding. I'm not going to aerate the sod this year. We did it last year. We've done it for the last 4 years. It's getting kind of expensive to do that. I think our turf is healthy enough this year that we won't need to do that. So I'm gonna switch that over to every other year. So help saves quite a bit of money. So questions?
Dennis, does the $50 for the gate stickers cover, say in my case, 2 cars? Or is it $50 per car?
Per car. Per car.
How the hell am I gonna keep her home?
I don't know. It doesn't include those directions. Who's next? Yeah, question. Yeah. I'll tell, we're still waiting on the boiler. We don't have an update, other than once it's fabricated, they'll ship it. That's all I have right now. Sorry. I wish I had better news.
What
Yes.
about the benches for the park?
Great question. The benches we ordered, they came in, they're assembling them right now. Jesse just went out a while ago, during the presentation and, gave direction on, 3 benches that locations. They're getting ready to start pouring the pads. Take about, I don't know, 3 or 4 days probably, or maybe a week for the pads to cure enough that they can drill down in them and, go ahead and mount the benches and get the benches out. So we do have the benches. We got them all in. Yeah, we can. Yeah. Well, I'll have the guys take a look at that, see if we can turn it. Question was, can one of the benches be turned? Answer is yes. Okay. Thank you very much.
And we are planning a big opening of Owens Park once everything's kind of in place. So stay tuned for information on that. I'm going to be really brief. On your chairs, you saw the felt house. Well, first of all, you should know that I love that you guys care so much about getting new people here. Our team does too. So thank you. We are about to announce we're finalizing kind of our 2022 incentives through the end of the year. So if you know anybody looking, those will probably be announced. I would bet next week, in the next 2 weeks, we're going to announce kind of a big promotion that we're running through the end of the year. So definitely, if you know people looking, referral cards are back there. Please don't. There's also referral cards in Crestwood and Span Wellness. Anyway, so we're going to be reaching out to people who we call them our Fab 40. So we have some really great promotions that we're going to run through the end of the year. The other thing I wanted to tell you guys, I have heard probably in the last 2 weeks from current members, I had no idea that Felt House looked the way it did. Felt House is a phenomenal option for people who want to live in a community like ours, but maybe can't afford the Crestwood price, the villa price, the patio. Crestwood Felt House is phenomenal. And I cannot tell you from your neighbors who are looking at Felt House are utterly surprised how roomy it is, how affordable it is, and how meals are included in that. So I would tell you, if you know people who think that they can't be here, this is hands down the most affordable option in Tulsa for a community like ours. It is a phenomenal deal. And so I would encourage you to share this flyer, have them call us. I do think Felt House has been a very kept secret. The other thing is our referral drawing for the month goes to Howard. He is the only one who turned in a referral for this month. So Howard, I will get with you and we'll get you a gift card. So thank you for referring a friend. Other things, if you ordered anything from the logo shop, it's back at this table. If you want to order from the logo shop, it will open on Monday and stay open for 2 weeks. And you can order that way. The other thing is, if you do not like to order by credit card, which I've only heard from maybe one of you, reach out to Heidi. We have a workaround if you only want to do a check for merchandise. So let us know if that's you. Other than that, questions? Oh, one other thing. Sorry. If you are interested in helping with the Employee Appreciation Fund campaign, as you know, the members run that. Raleigh Rhodes and Kay Owens are the chairs of that. If you are interested in volunteering for that, we need all sorts of help. People who are willing to follow up with neighbors, tell people about it, decorate for the party, serve at the party, make thank you cards. If you are interested in helping with that campaign, which is really a campaign that lets you thank Trinity Woods employees, because we don't do any tipping. You can't give gifts. this is kind of that Christmas time that you can thank them. If you want to be part of the committee that puts that on and does that, please reach out to Kay or Raleigh. They are currently soliciting volunteers for that, and we will start meeting in October. So if that's something you are passionate about, please get with them and we'll get you on that committee. Sorry, Gary.
Is the Feld House a per person price or is it how much for a couple?
There is a per person monthly. It is, the entry fee is like everything else. And the per person, what's the second person on Felt? 1,310. So it would, for two people, it's a little up around 4,000. Does that, okay. If they do, it's really depends on their plan they pick. I mean, the deal you see here, the 25,000, that's on the standard plan, which is normally about $40,000 as a standard plan entry fee. So this is quite a significant discount. But it depends on what plan they pick, just like anywhere else on campus. It's 670. Yeah, it's like a $660 a meal credit. So it basically accounts for 3 meals every day for Felt House. I can repeat it.
When we first moved into Crestwood, a lady told me, she said, well, she gives about $60 a year for appreciation fund. And I didn't know anything different until I was here a year. And I thought, we don't pay a tip in the dining room. If you were to eat in the dining room even 300 times in a year, you should leave $300. That's a tip, you know. And so that's the way I've based my appreciation on. And of course, then the other things we get. So, you know, people need to think about what they would actually give. And so that'd be a good way to market it.
Yeah. Did everybody understand what Phyllis was saying? When you're thinking about kind of what gift you want to give for the Employee Appreciation Fund, really kind of her thought was think about how much you don't tip for every meal you have here. And that's how she starts her planning. Any other questions? Yeah. And Raleigh and Kay will definitely dive into that at next month's town hall. You're going to hear lots about that. The committee is such a powerful force, I would say. You guys do a great job reminding people what that fund is about. So. For the backroom bake sale, Jennifer, do you have instructions or? It is open. This is a fundraiser for the Alzheimer's Association, which is very near and dear to many people's hearts, employees as well as members. And I encourage you to peruse the bake sale that our employees and our staff have helped put together. So thank you for that. When is what? Right now. It's open right now, right back here. I'm sorry. If you just walk straight back, you get your goodies on the way. That's right.
You everybody for sticking around a little overtime. Consistent, I guess, with our football theme. We went into overtime. Thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.